I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to the 12th Annual Social Justice Awards. My name is Elise Smith, and it is my privilege to be Master of Ceremonies today. The Social Justice Awards was established in 2002 by the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee, a committee which has a diverse membership from a variety of departments at Dartmouth College. The purpose of these awards was to recognize individual alumni, faculty, and staff, as well as student groups for their commitment to causes of social justice, civil rights, peace, education, public health, and environmental justice. This year's Social Justice Award ceremony is co-sponsored by the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee, the Office of Institutional Diversity and Equity, the William Jewett Tucker Foundation, and the Geisel School of Medicine. We have a wonderful program for you today, and we are lucky enough to have the Dartmouth Rockapellas with us to start it off. The Rockapellas, known lovingly as the Rocks, are an all-female a cappella group that use song to raise awareness about social justice. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming the Dartmouth Rockapellas.
Hi everyone, we're the Rockapellas. We're so happy to be here today. Our first song that we're singing is called Ella's Song. The lyrics of the song were written by Ella Baker, who was a civil rights activist in the 1960s, and these words all come from one of her speeches. Thank you.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. Oh, oh. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom until the killing of black mother sons is as important as the killing of white mother sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. Struggling myself don't mean a whole lot. I've come to realize that teaching others just to stand up and fight is the only way our struggle survives. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
Oh, don't you rest,
We
don't you
who
rest.
believe in freedom cannot rest. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard.
I must be heard.
At times I can be quite difficult. I bow to no man's word. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
Oh, don't you rest,
We
don't
who
you rest.
believe in freedom cannot rest. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum,
Thank you. We have one more song for you. It's called Why Should I Cry for Freedom by Vita, and it's a song that talks about giving a voice to those who don't have one.
And brothers, forgive me for the things I say. I'm losing the meaning. I'm losing sense of night and day. The sun that I'm seeing is the same around the earth. So why is our freedom ruled by our birth? And why should I cry? Why should I cry for freedom when I lived, oh, when I lived a life of liberty? And how can I say that I'm suffering and pain? I sing for all the souls who do not complain. Tomorrow, justice, it seems so high and far away. While people go hungry, mistreated each and every day. Whatever can I do? I'm standing here on solid ground. I sing for the silent people. Lord, hear our sound. Wondering why blues and blacks and grays are covering the earth.
What's the mystery of the dove that she stayed so long away?
Why are my sisters singing songs of their names so beautifully?
Why are my brothers crying tears of silence so hopelessly?
Why should I cry? Why should I cry for freedom when I lived, oh, when I lived a life of liberty? And how can I say that I'm suffering and pain? I sing for all the souls who do not complain, who do not complain.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rockapellas. You guys were wonderful as always. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Carol Folt, the Dartmouth Professor of Biological Sciences and Dartmouth's interim president. Last July, Dr. Folt became the first woman to serve as the president of Dartmouth College. She is a deeply committed educator and researcher, as well as a long-standing member of the Dartmouth community. In her time at Dartmouth, she has held many leadership positions and taught thousands of students. She says that of particular significance to her is her relationships with the many undergraduate and graduate students she has personally mentored, and the hundreds of faculty and staff who have become lifelong friends and colleagues. That is probably why she continues, even as president, to mentor students, faculty, and staff, in addition to remaining active as a research scientist. President Folt is especially pleased to speak today as our annual presentation of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Awards, and has said she is deeply proud of the legacy of selflessness and service that runs so deeply through this community. Her own commitment to social equality and justice has been a focus in her roles as a faculty and administrator. As a mentor in the FISEP program, or First Year Student Enrichment Program, is a program developed to help prepare first-generation students in their transition into college. I had the opportunity to hear President Folt speak. She made it a priority that she come and excite and encourage the FISEP entering class. Moreover, President Folt's engagement in recent community forums proves not only that the administration is dedicated to issues of social justice, but her own personal interest in social equity and justice on this campus. As a researcher, she studies issues relevant to environmental justice, including global climate change and efforts of mercury and arsenic on human health, effects of mercury and arsenic on human health. And as the leader of Dartmouth's first community-wide strategic planning process, she has made the commitment to inclusivity and diversity a top priority for our institution. Her dedication to the college and issues of inclusion have truly earned her a place as a daughter of Dartmouth. Please join me in welcoming President Folt.
Thank you. Wow, I love being a daughter of Dartmouth. I don't think anyone's ever said that to me before. That's actually, thank you. Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to see all of you here in this celebration of our Social Justice Awards. I want to start by thanking our incredible committee, Gabrielle Luke, Christine Crabb, Evelyn Ellis, and all the committee that are listed in our bulletin. Of course, you are making it all possible for us. In my incredible number of different jobs at Dartmouth, every day I meet truly extraordinary people, faculty, students, staff, alumni, visitors, all people who are striving to make a difference in virtually every aspect of human endeavor. These people inspire me, but none of them inspire me more so than the special people we're honoring today and at previous social justice celebrations. For 2 weeks this year and every year since 2002, we have been honoring the legacy and the inspiration, and I also think of the poetry of language and genius of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King. His words guide us not only through our dark times, but of course they provide us a clear path to follow. Apropos of today, I want to read a quote from Dr. King. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. Today, we're honoring members of our Dartmouth family who are leading by walking in that light of creative altruism and helping us learn how to take actions to fight against that destructive selfishness. Our 2-week-long celebration has been focusing on the art of nonconformity. I think everyone in this room would agree that the heroes of social justice are nonconformists of the most meaningful sort. By practicing that art every single day, every week, these nonconformists are creating social change that is inspiring the call from our own hearts. These events of the last 2 weeks in Washington and here at Dartmouth, I think many of them would have been things that made Dr. King proud. On the very same day that saw the country's first African-American president inaugurated into his second term of office, we heard Professor Bruce Dutu speak about the importance of being maladjusted, one of Dr. King's memorable phrases that he gave in his own speech here at Dartmouth. And he talked about the importance of this maladjustment to making and changing society's complacency. We heard that night, Katori Hall, a fantastic, amazing playwright, correct the misconceptions that stop people from becoming social activists. And that very same night, we heard Dartmouth's courageous African Americans President Nikita McPherson tell us, and I quote, "We have not done right by each other." Now, Nikita's words sadly underscored some events that were happening in the last 2 weeks, because in addition to the amazing events that would have made Dr. King proud, there were also events that would have made his heart ache, as did the hearts and are the hearts of our community, aching over racial and bias incidents. These past 2 weeks have really been a barometer about how far our own community has come, and they're giving us ideas about how far we have yet to go. But I'm convinced that it's going to be the wonderful nonconformists among us who are going to be the people that are really going to help us make that kind of progress. Now, of course, our award winners today are just those sorts of people. Each one of you has answered the call to justice and a call to help people who cannot make justice for themselves. We start with a powerful group of graduate students, the Dartmouth Graduate Student Veterans Association. Thank you. Each student, by serving our country, has also served every person in this room. During a time of war, they came together over the common goal of continuing service through peace here on our campus. Just this past April, These extraordinary members formed their group, and they are making amazing difference in our community. And something that has really moved me is that you've brought voice and you've brought action on behalf of the hundreds of veterans who are actually on the staff in different capacities here at Dartmouth and in the Upper Valley. And they aren't often celebrated. Our ongoing commitment award honoree Steve Cosson, class of 1990, combines the art of nonconformity with the theater arts. When he studied here at Dartmouth, and of course when he started his investigative theater company, The Civilians. This company has a capacity to really blend art and performance to highlight important social issues, and it is exactly what we dream about when we think about honoring the Year of the Arts and its power to change lives. 2 of our 3 Lifetime Achievement honorees have dedicated their own efforts to be a voice for underserved inner-city school children. As president of the Chicago's Teachers Union, Karen Lewis, who I want to mention, was the single black woman in Dartmouth's class of 1974. What a wonderful time to honor her here when we're celebrating 40 years of coeducation. And I believe Karen's going to be with us at that weekend celebration of coeducation, so you all have a chance to meet her. But she challenged the status quo of public education to improve all schools across cities. As one teacher put it, Karen fights for the very soul of public education, not only in Chicago, but everywhere. We have 5 members of the Barnett family, 2 generations, who have really devoted themselves also to equalizing educational access and advocating again for disadvantaged youth, as well as supporting people that are underserved in areas of housing and health care. Thanks to the efforts of Bill in 1934, his wife Mary, their children, it's Bill the second, class of 34, Bill the third, correct? In class of 64, Larry, class of 68, and Carol, now parent of a 1990 graduate. You have really changed the lives of thousands of underprivileged children. Lifetime Achievement honoree Joe O'Donnell, graduate of Dartmouth Medical School, class of 1971, is the first person to receive an award named after our own incredible energetic leader, Hani Satea, who is a dear friend and colleague to so many of us and another wonderful nonconformist. Joe, you probably all know, is the Geisel School Dean. He's a faculty member. He's a practicing oncologist, and he has been passing his service and his passion for service to thousands of medical students and graduate students that he continues to mentor. And every time I meet students that have worked with Joe, they talk about how important his work has been in their lives. And 5 years ago, C. Everett Koop recognized this when he named Joe his successor as the senior scholar of the Koop Institute. So I want to close by speaking directly to the honorees. In the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King, each of you has found a way in your own to pursue social justice. You improve the lives of others in so many different profound ways. And the Social Justice Awards that we're offering today honor you, but they also honor all those in the community who aren't being honored today, but serve at the same purpose. You know, we celebrate your work because what you do helps overcome justice, and it also helps us find models when we have times of trouble in our own community and keeps us inspired to move forward. So we'll use your example as well as Dr. King's to remind us that there is injustice left to overcome, and there are ways that every single one of us can help do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Folt. I was actually asked to deliver some remarks as well about the meaning that social justice awards hold for me and for other Dartmouth College students. While I can't speak for other students, I can surely express my gratitude that this event exists. I want to start by sharing a story with you that will hopefully highlight why I think celebrating those who stand up and fight against inequality in an unjust world to make it a better place is extremely valuable. Just this past fall, I was going about my day when I ran into a very close friend. He looked extremely upset And when I asked him what was wrong, he shared with me a very troubling experience he had just had. Apparently, while waiting in line to print at a green print station, he overheard two students in front of him talking about someone they had called a derogatory term. The person they were using that derogatory slur to describe was not present, but that didn't stop my friend from having a visceral reaction to their discussion. When he told me, I was shocked and asked him what he had said to those students. My friend looked taken aback. He had not said anything to them, and instead had let the comment go by, which to me seemed like a silent approval. Later, we brought this issue to a larger group of my friends, most of whom agreed and said that they would also not have jumped in and told the other students that perhaps their word choice was offensive. I think what is now important to highlight is that I surround myself with people who I would describe as extremely liberal and social justice oriented. My friends are Opal interns, rockapellas, and those who hold identities that force them to be acutely aware of issues of intolerance on this campus. So I found myself even more troubled. If students on this campus who advocate and dedicate so much of their time to making the college more inclusive, more supportive and accepting of difference, if they are unable in some instances to stand up against acts of intolerance, how can we expect any student to fight against injustice? All of this is to say, I am honored to be here at the Social Justice Awards, where we celebrate and appreciate those who are courageous enough to fight against injustice and intolerance. In fact, I wish every day was a day when we celebrated and appreciated people who fought the social justice fight. I want to appreciate students who are courageous enough to share their experiences of discrimination in an opinion column in the Dartmouth Daily newspaper. I want to appreciate those who were courageous enough to participate in Intercommunity Council's We Are Not Anonymous campaign. Those who were brave enough to put their names to experiences that call out acts of injustice on our campus. I want to celebrate not only those who have done great and wonderful things like the honorees we are so privileged to be in the presence of today, but also those who fight against microaggressions every day. And while I hope individual students continue to stand up against these microaggressions, I also want to find a way to stop these aggressions from occurring in the first place. I want to find a way for students to begin to question the multiple identities that they hold, the privilege keys we all have, and the advantages and disadvantages we derive from these. I want to find a way, perhaps institutionally created, for students to discuss these issues with each other, because I'm not sure that these conversations will start at the Green Print Station. Thank you. Now, I would like to take a moment to recognize, celebrate, and appreciate student organizations that were nominated for the Social Justice Award this year. You will find a list of the nominated groups toward the front of this evening's printed program. They include Dartmouth Food Connection, Dartmouth for UNICEF Campus Initiative, Dartmouth Humanitarian Engineering Organization, Dartmouth Graduate Veterans Association, DREAM, Globe Med at Dartmouth, the Intercommunity Council, Language in Motion, Outdoor Leadership Experience, Outreach Peer Mentor Program, and Soul Scribes. All of these groups have done highly valuable work for the greater good, and we would like to take a moment to applaud them. I now have the privilege to introduce the Dean of the College, Charlotte Johnson, who will continue with the program and present the presentation of the Student Organization Award. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Elise, and thank you for your remarks. Well done. So it is my privilege to present the Student Organization Award. The Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award for Student Organization honors a student group for its commitment to promoting social justice in our local, national, and global communities. A group's contributions to foster peace, civil rights, education, public health, or social justice may earn the group this award. As President Fold indicated, the recipient of this year's award for student organization is the Dartmouth Graduate Veterans Association. I'll read from their citation. Founded less than a year ago, the Dartmouth Graduate Veterans Association, DGVA, is made up of veterans from the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and works to unite, mobilize, and advocate for any and all veterans in the Graduate Studies program. In the short time since its inception, the group has already distinguished itself with a wide array of community service activities that contribute in all 5 areas this award recognizes. One example of DGVA's contribution is its initiation of an ongoing clothing and food drive for the Claremont Soup Kitchen, which has resulted in the delivery of weekly donations of fresh food. Listening carefully to the Soup Kitchen's needs, DGVA was inspired to volunteer their skills in grant writing. Their assistance has so far yielded a grant of over $10,000, much needed resources to help alleviate some of the winter stressors for the kitchen's visitors. On the public health front, these veterans have volunteered with the National Center for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder at the White River Junction VA and DHMC, and they have supported research studies on behavioral health. In addition, they visited with wounded warriors at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center, providing general support and encouraging them to further their education. Here at the college, DJVA organized the inaugural Veterans Day banquet. This event brought together community members from Dartmouth and the Upper Valley to show support and appreciation for those who serve their country, our country, and the military. DGVA members have also served as panelists for classes and have worked closely with faculty to help our community understand the impact of Afghanistan's cultural relationships on health care for the country's women and children. Internationally, DGVA members attended the Impact 2012 Symposium of the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition, which works to expand our diplomatic toolbox. At this symposium, the group's participation was especially welcomed, given their military experience and firsthand knowledge of both the ramifications of state instability and of the power of diplomacy. As Stoney Portis, Mouse 13, said, "While every member committed themselves to military service during a time of war, each is now a Dartmouth graduate student committed to advancing the idea of community service through peace." For their wide-ranging and energetic service in support of the highest of ideals of our country and our world, we are proud to recognize and honor the Dartmouth Graduate Veterans Association. Our community and nation remain grateful for your sacrifices and service. Could all members of the Dartmouth Graduate Veterans Association and their advisor please rise? Join me up. So I'd like to invite Ronald Buca, Sergeant First Class, U.S. Army and member of the Males Class of 2014, Michael Rodriguez, Lance Corporal, U.S. Marine Corps, retired, Males 13, and Desmond Webster, a former Lieutenant, U.S. Army, Males 13.
Thank you, everyone. The fellows asked me to say something really briefly. We wanted to thank the Tucker Foundation, the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee, the other veterans organizations, President Emeritus Wright, President Folt, the Human Resources Office, the Office of Institutional Diversity and Equity, the staff and teenage boys of Orion's House, and the staff of the Claremont Soup Kitchen. Thank you very much.
In addition, we'd also like to especially thank a couple of gentlemen from the Dartmouth football team who've helped out with the mentorship at the Orion's House, specifically Will Guiney. Would you please stand up, Will? and Ed Von Kuhn, who couldn't be with us. Also would like to especially thank Zach Williams, who's helped us out tremendously in terms of getting the word out about organization. And none of us went with the intention of sort of getting an award like this, but right now more than ever, a lot of people really need whatever help they can go. A lot of, families are just one emergency away from being out on the streets, and we need to do what we can to stop that. So, serving doesn't stop at the end of campus, doesn't stop at the town or state or county line. It continues everywhere. And if anyone ever, wants to know how they can help, feel free to contact us, and we'll see what we can do for you. Again, thank you so much, and appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I now have the pleasure to introduce Vice President for Institutional Diversity and Equity, Evelyn Ellis.
Actually, I think I'm going to make an adjustment if you don't mind. Thank you. I want to welcome you again to Dartmouth 2013 Social Justice Award celebration. We are delighted that you chose to join us and feel confident that you will leave with a renewed commitment to whatever work that you do. The individuals and the student group chosen to receive awards this year have shown commitment, strength, and courage. They have continued their work even on days when they must, like you and like me, have felt discouraged, experienced self-doubt, fear, and even a momentary desire to quit. They, however, have persevered and are now here to have us honor them for their dedication and their persistence. I am often floored by the incredible power of the human spirit and how that power enables all of us to keep working, keep moving, even when our feet are dragging under our bodies, and as our spirits sometimes feel buried in our own disappointment and pain. Each year, as I start to review the list of recipients, I cannot avoid sitting and wondering what kept each of you going. Then I am reminded of a practice, or maybe it was a belief, that I learned from my great-grandmother Aline and my great-aunt Emma. They continuously told me that as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, it is highly likely that you are moving forward. If your body is moving forward, they believe, your mind and your courage will follow, despite whatever circumstances surround you. I got to test this little theory on October 12, 2010. I received a call from my younger sister Yolanda concerning my nephew Kenyatta, who was serving in Afghanistan. She stated that his mother, which is my older sister Hazel, had received an MIA, which is a missing in action call from the Army. What that really means is that something terrible has happened to your relative and they aren't going to discuss it with you at that time. We found out that his helicopter had gone down and that, yes, he was in a fight for his life. Sitting at my desk in Blount Alumni Center was definitely not the best place to digest such terrible circumstances, but flight was not an option at that moment. Suddenly, it was as if those old resting souls who taught me so well were standing over my shoulders. I stood up and started to walk towards something. And as I am sure many of you, our honored guests, have done on many long days, it turned out to be probably the second longest walk I had ever done in my life. although I only walked to alumni gym. What I relearned on that long walk is that our strength to move forward lies in our belief that there is indeed so much good to move forward for. If we are to create change, improve lives, and make this world a better place, we, like those of you we honor today, need to keep putting one foot in front of the other, one idea along with the other, one genuine action after another. For it is our strength, commitment, and courage that will enable us to create a world that those who follow us will be proud to have inherited. Kenyatta survived. Albeit the total loss of one leg and part of another, he, like you, and hopefully me, keeps putting one limb in front of the other, knowing that if we keep standing, our chances of changing this world are far better than if we sit down. Today is just our chance to say thank you. Thank you for your work. It is also our chance to say in the loudest way we can, keep moving, keep doing, keep being who you are. It is your presence on this planet, along with mine, and all of those other souls walking along beside us, that makes every single day that we wake up a new opportunity to create a world more precious than the one we woke up in the day before. Again, I thank you for coming out, and I will now begin the celebration to honor the individual recipients of the 2013 Social Justice Awards. I will tell you a little, for those of you who are new, about the Social Justice Awards. Social Justice Awards were originally conceived to honor members of our community and provide us with a venue in which we may acknowledge and reflect on their accomplishments. There are 4 categories that we will present tonight: the Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award for ongoing commitment, Tucker Foundation Lester B. Granger Class of 18 Award for lifetime achievement, the inaugural Holly Fayasete Award, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award for lifetime achievement. The names of the honorees who will receive the ongoing commitment, the lifetime achievement, and the Lester B. Granger Awards have been engraved and added to this plaque, this right here in front of you, which is displayed throughout the year on the wall outside of college. A separate plaque to be displayed in Blount Alumni Center at the Office of Institutional Diversity and Equity will bear the name of the Sater Award honoree. Each award recipient will be presented with the clock inscribed with his or her name and an engraving of Dartmouth Hall. The gift of a clock was inspired by a quote from Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail, and it states, "We must use time creatively in the knowledge that the time is always right to do right." Presentation of awards will be followed by a panel, you're already sitting there, with the honorees and about their lives and their careers. And I will start first with the Martin Luther King Social Justice Award for ongoing commitment. This year's honoree is Stephen Cosson, a member of the class of 1990. He's a writer and a director of new plays, musicals, and classics. Founder, as President Foltz stated, he's the founder and artistic director of the Civilians, and it's an internationally renowned investigative theater company that makes new work from the creative exploration of real life, gives voice to people, to points of views, and complex relationships that often go unexplored. He works with a dynamic combination of journalism and art, and just to give you a sampling of some of the topics, they do climate change and the future of this planet, shifting line between church and state, and how different beliefs can coexist or conflict within a community.
His work provides an avenue for dialogue with voices that are rarely heard in other media. Stephen Costin holds an MFA in directing from the University of California, San Diego, and an AB from Dartmouth. In Dartmouth Year of the Art, Steve's commitment in making social issues visible through the art of theater makes him eminently worthy of the Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award for ongoing commitment. Unfortunately, Steve is unable to be here, but I am pleased to present and to welcome the Civilians Chair of the Board, Fred Gill, class of '88, who is here to accept Steve Costin's award on his behalf.
Very much. All right. Can everyone hear me? Good. All right. I just want to say thank you, Evelyn, for those words about the civilians. We're obviously going to talk about that in a little bit, but this is a wonderful award. We really appreciate it. By the way, as Evelyn mentioned, I am the board chair of the civilians, and on behalf of Steve and the board and everyone in the civilians community, this is a really special honor. We really appreciate being included among all these very worthy and accomplished honorees. So thank you all very much.
It's yours, you can keep it. I would now like to introduce the Lester B. Granger Class of '18 Award for Lifetime Achievement. The Granger Award was originated by the William Jewett Tucker Foundation in 2002 and was made a part of the Social Justice Award ceremony for the first time in 2005. It is named in honor of Lester B. Granger, class of 1918. It is given each year to individuals whose commitment to public service has been as exemplary as Granger's own. Further details can be found in your program. This year's award winner is Karen G. J. Lewis, a member of the class of 1974, and President Folt mentioned that earlier. She's the president of the 30,000 member Chicago Teachers Union, the third largest teachers local in the country and the largest local union in Chicago, in Illinois. The union's goals are to advance high quality public education, improve teaching and learning conditions, and protect the members' rights. The only national board certified teacher to lead a United States labor union, Karen Lewis also serves as the executive vice president to the Illinois Federation of Teachers and as vice president of the American Federation of Teachers. Her goal is simple: to improve Chicago's public schools and stand firmly against the privatization of public education. Lewis also taught chemistry in the Chicago public schools for 22 years. She holds a master's degree in inner city studies education and a second in film and video. And as the President Folt mentioned earlier, she was the lone black female student in 1974 here at Dartmouth. In the face of repeated struggles and roadblocks to attaining the necessary resources for students and for teachers, Lewis has been steadfast in her commitment. For these reasons, we are proud to confer upon Karen Lewis the Lester B. Granger Class of '18 Award for Lifetime Achievement. Although Karen is not with us now, she will be with us because we have planned a spring event where she will accept her award in person and where the students and the Dartmouth community will have the chance to meet and learn along with Karen. But let's congratulate her. Now I am extremely pleased to present the inaugural Holly Thea Satea Award. This award was established by former President Jong Young Kim and President Carol Folt in 2011 to honor the legacy of Holly Thea Satea Miles, class of '82, who at the time had recently retired as Vice President for Institutional Diversity and Equity, and as another way to just recognize diversity as a vibrant part of Dartmouth's mission. The award recognizes a staff or faculty member who is an enthusiastic and effective leader in advancing diversity and community. This year's honoree is Dr. Joseph O'Donnell. Joe serves as the senior. With everything I'm reading about him, I feel funny calling him Joe, but I'll call him Joe. Joe serves as the Senior Advising Dean, Director of Community Programs, Professor of Medicine, and Professor of Psychiatry at the Geisel School of Medicine, and as the Senior Scholar at C. Everett Koop Institute. Serving in various roles within the medical school administration since 1987, he has had a profound effect on thousands of medical students and influenced the kind of physicians they have become. Joe started the Geisel School Community Service Committee in 1990, helping to establish commitment to service as a large part of the Geisel experience. In 1995, he began the New Hampshire-Vermont Schweitzer Fellowships. There have been over 300 fellows who have provided over 62,000 hours of service to New Hampshire and Vermont, working with the at-risk communities. He co-founded Dartmouth Center on Addiction, Recovery, and Education, and helped to found the Geisel School's chapter of Physicians for Human Rights. Its international programs are in Kosovo, and its urban scholar programs. As a member and eventually the chair of the Governor's Advisory Panel on Cancer and Chronic Disease, Joe led the fight to reduce harm from smoking, encouraging students interested in health policy to actually create an advocacy workshop and a network, bringing in speakers, lawmakers, and testifying on public issues. For his lifetime commitment to promoting health equity, compassion in medicine, and moral and professional formation in physicians, we are privileged to present Dr. Joseph F. O'Donnell with the inaugural Holly Thea Satea Award.
Well, this is a singular honor for me to actually to be in this company of all these great people getting the awards and the people that have gotten the awards in the past. It's also an unbelievable honor to be the first ever Holly Satea Award winner. We know Holly well. We know her energy. We know all the things she did for this college. But to think of all the people around here who do so many good things and to be the first award winner is so moving to me. Of course, I stand up here, but I don't stand alone because there's so many people who I have to thank that were involved in me being here. The most important person is the love of my life, you know, my best friend, my wife of 40 years, Janice, and I couldn't do anything without her. And our daughter Beth and her fiance John Berg are representing our children, and our children inspire us every day of our lives. We're so proud of them. I've worked with so many people over the years here, and there's so many people I want to thank, but I want to single out three especially. The first is my assistant, Linda Martin. And I literally stand here because of Linda Martin. She's the one that wrote the recommendation that got me to stand here. Linda is an amazing assistant. I think she's one of the smartest people at Dartmouth. She's one of the best writers, probably one of the reasons why I got the award. The best editors, best proofreaders that I've ever seen. And she multiplies me in my job. She allows me to do more than I ever thought I could do. Linda, thank you. Another person that I treasure that I work with is Sean O'Leary. Sean O'Leary is really our man he's our go-to man in terms of diversity at Geisel School of Medicine. I've had the great privilege to watch Sean in action as he plans things like the trip to alternate spring break trip to Minnesota, which is going to be an awesome trip in which students are really going to learn about Native American culture, his own tribe's culture. And Sean is just, and he's a gem in the medical school, and I appreciate working with him so much. And the third person is Becky Torrey that I want to thank, and she's the one that helps me run the Albert Schweitzer Fellowship Program. And Becky is just an unbelievably wise woman who's very calm and very bright. And she actually runs the program, and I just follow her around and do whatever she says to do. But Becky is spectacular. And there's many other people I could talk about that I work with. Our office now in Student Affairs, Student Multicultural Affairs, with Ann Davis and Sue Pepin and Dino Koff, is really doing all kinds of new things that are wonderful things. The third group of people I wanted to thank are some of my friends. You know, I really couldn't do anything without my friends. And Bruce and Marion Waters are here, and thank you for coming. Dick and Barbara Couch couldn't be here. But people like Jack and Mary Turco, the Butterleys, the Nurembergs, the Boyles, Jim Bell, the Chapmans, those are the people I get to hang around with, and those are the people that inspire me all the time to do the things that I can do. So I don't stand here alone. I stand here not only because of all the people I mentioned, but so many more that I didn't mention, and thank you very much.
And if I could have Fred move to the table. And I'm looking for glasses.
No, I just took yours.
Because I can't see a thing. That could have turned into a very long evening. Now for our final award, the Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award for Lifetime Achievement. We're doing something new this year. We're honoring an entire family for its ongoing legacy of commitment to social justice and community service. The members of the Barnett family include the late Mary G. Barnett and William Barnett II, a member of the class of 1934, William Barnett III, a member of the Dartmouth class of 64, and the Tuck class of 65, Lawrence Barnett of the class of 68, and Carol Barnett Fuchs. I am pleased to say that the family's Dartmouth legacy continues with Carol's son, Daniel, class of 90, and Larry's daughter, Karen, class of 03. Beginning with Bill and Mary, each family member has been a champion of the underserved and a devoted advocate for equal access to education. I'll start with William II. William founded the New York Capital Region Sponsor a Scholar Program and received the Anti-Defamation Americanism Award, among others. He and his wife, Mary, worked to support interculturalism and interfaith programming at Skidmore, which was Mary's alma mater. Then I'll go to William III. He has played a key role in South Carolina's education and reform, working on the PASS Commission, chairing the State's Education Oversight Committee, and staying at the epicenter in the drive for education improvement. No stranger to public service, he served as the mayor of Spartanburg, South Carolina, for 2 terms and has worked tirelessly in support of numerous community service and sports and arts organizations, as well as multi-faith programs and education programs for underserved children. Lawrence Barnett, his entire job focuses on service. He's the director of philanthropy for the Northeast Health Foundation, which supports a regional network of healthcare, supportive housing, and community services. He chaired the capital campaign for Regional Alzheimer's Center and has been active in community organizations serving those in need in the Albany area. Now we come to Carol. Carol Barnett Fuchs has been involved with many programs for students for under-resourced backgrounds and has done it for many years. One of these, Philadelphia Futures, has developed an extensive array of programs and services that help students succeed. At its core is its nationally recognized Sponsor a Scholar program, which provides high school students with the critical support they need to achieve a college education. Perhaps best known to us at Dartmouth, and definitely to me, is the SEED program, Summer Enrichment at Dartmouth, which Carol founded in 2001 together with former Dean of the Tucker Foundation, Stuart Lord, and Education Department Chair, Andrew Garrett. SEED empowers promising high school students from under-resourced backgrounds to thrive in high school and college, and provides Dartmouth students transformative opportunities for service and leadership. Carol's husband, Rabbi Alan Fuchs, also has been a strong supporter of SEED from its earliest days, from helping to facilitate discussions and hosting staff celebration dinners to serving as an advisor to the program leaders. As Carol so compellingly put it, more people need to have faith in kids, get involved in their lives, and understand that in helping them reach their goals, we improve the quality of life for all. Members of the Barnett family have impacted the lives of thousands, many of whom have been underprivileged children, through their extensive volunteer work and philanthropy. This is a family with exceptionally close ties to Dartmouth and an impressive record of commitment to social justice issues for over 75 years. In recognition of this legacy of service, Dartmouth is deeply honored to present the Bartlett family with the Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award for Lifetime Achievement. Please welcome Carol. I'll take glasses.
Don't trust me. Thank you. Thank you very much. I thank you. My brothers Bill and Larry thank you. And my parents would also thank you. I too had a dream like Martin Luther King. And Carrie Pelzel and Almisha Redding and Stuart Lord of the Tucker Foundation made it happen. Without Jay Davis, who has been the program director since the beginning, and Andrew Garrett, who was the chair of the education department when we began, and the support of Helen Damon Moore and Evelyn Ellis, and legions of Dartmouth sophomores, juniors, seniors, and alums who really do come back summer after summer to be a part of the program, SEED would never have become what it is today. And it certainly helped that the funding to start SEED was in place, thanks to a gift to the college in honor of my father's 75th birthday. He was a staunch alumnus. He even requested to be buried in his Dartmouth bow tie. My dream was more than a vision. It was a moral imperative to help young people to achieve their dreams. We thank you for the opportunity to make that dream a reality.
At this time, I would like to begin the panel discussion. And before I sit down, I will tell you what the questions that I will have them address. And we begin on the far end with Sergeant First Class Ron Buca. Each honoree will speak about 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes, during which we have asked them to address the following questions. What have you most wanted to change through your life's work? What have you most wanted to change? Did your passion for social justice have roots in your Dartmouth experience? What one lesson have you learned about social change that you would like to share with younger people and even some of the older ones? And how do you sustain the passion that you bring to your work? When we're finished, each one of them will get, I said, up to 5 minutes, and when they're done, then we have a question and answer session, and I will move over and join.
Just like to start out saying it's an honor to be up here representing the DGVA and to be among such accomplished individuals. In the spirit of nonconformity, I will only loosely go by the questions that were posed. I want to begin by starting, we're talking about Dr. King's dream that people be judged by the content of their character. And oddly enough, tie this to combat because that's where I saw it kind of play out the most. When you're in combat, race, religion, culture, gender, it's all put aside. What really matters is whether or not you can trust the person next to you with your life, and vice versa. Will they trust you with their life? And it's been instrumental in kind of, I think, shaping the moral and mental mindset of the DGVA. You sprinkle in a little bit of the golden rule that our parents all taught us. Treat everybody as you want to be treated. And, I think I speak for the group when I say, we treat everybody as if they're our family. Whether they're homeless or whether they're falling on unfortunate times, that's someone's mother, that's someone's brother, sister, parent, and, we try and just help them out as we'd want to be helped. And so I think that's how Dr. King has strongly influenced, kind of the DGVA and our outreach. As far as our Dartmouth experience, I'll speak a little bit more on a personal level. I got back from my last deployment in November of 2011, and I started up in the graduate program in January. So Dartmouth and the MAUS program was a transition for me, and it opened my eyes up. I was exposed to classes in cultural studies, gender studies, and social injustice and racial injustice, and that is one class in particular taught by Dr. John Butterly and Jack Shepard on hunger, and we looked at the local communities and the effects that hunger and poverty were having, just 20 minutes down the road. And that's really what activated us to go around and start collecting canned goods and clothing, and it expanded into the program in Newport. We recruited the Dartmouth football team. Sports is always a good outlet for teenagers, and so we thought by getting some athletes involved, they could relate to the kids, and we're able to make a difference. Which kind of leads me to my concluding point that change is exactly what it implies. You can't wait for it, and I urge the younger generation just to go out and get involved. That's all that it takes. Don't wait to be told. Just simply get out there. If you see something that you feel strongly about or something that needs to be changed, just go out and do it. One person, one organization can obviously make a difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a video presentation that Steve Cosson prepared for this part of the program. So I'm just going to wait for that, and then I'll speak.
Hi there. I'm so sorry that I cannot be there in person to accept this, but I'm glad to be with you in digital form. I'm here in Maryland about to open a show, and I'm just going to be reading a short statement. I also want to thank Fred Guild, our fearless board chair of the Civilians, for being in Hanover to accept on my behalf. Thank you, Fred. And here we go. I'm humbled to be included in this group with the other honorees who've clearly done such important work in society. And reading through their accomplishments, I'm reminded of the numerous classmates of mine who've worked in so many different ways for social justice over the past 2 decades-ish since our graduation. One of the questions I was asked to consider was whether my passion for social justice had roots in my Dartmouth experience, and the answer is definitely yes. To be honest, part of that influence was negative, as in the 1980s, Dartmouth was experienced by many to be a fairly hostile environment. And certainly I felt that way at times as someone who leans to the left and as an out gay man. I was only one of 2 in my freshman spring to give you a sense of how much things have changed for the better. But on the positive, life-transforming side of it all, being politically active at that time meant that there was no single issue activism. Everyone worked on everyone else's stuff, until I think we learned that really it's all the same stuff. And reflecting on that time now, I recognize that within this certain community of students and faculty, we made a commitment to a way of living and working in the world that's really served as my compass on the idiosyncratic path I've taken through life. And this commitment, I don't necessarily mean it's a selfless ideal of helping others, but rather the recognition that oneself is inextricably related to larger forces in our society, and that the work to perceive these relationships and to participate in the shifting changes in society, hopefully in a positive way, is a path to a full and meaningful life. Now, I say that as if I had a full and meaningful life, and let me just say, well, yes and no. Again, going back to those undergraduate years, I once believed that life would be some sort of steady growth of knowledge and understanding that would eventually reach some plateau of security and well-being. And similarly, I was invested in an idea of the steady march of political progress. But at this point in my life, I see that there's no simple line graph for this stuff. Real life is a lot of contradiction and complexity. And in fact, for me at least, I realized that my job as a person and as an artist was really to be confused and uncomfortable a lot of the time. And from that confusion, always curious and always questioning. And as I've created a theater company through which I can pursue my curiosity, often by interacting with people I'd never meet otherwise, I get the chance over and over again to step over my fears and anxieties and sit down and really listen to another person. And sometimes doing that can punch a hole right through some precious belief of mine. And that's liberating. And that feeds and sustains me, and hopefully some of that experience carries over to my audiences. And honestly, as an artist, it's hard to know precisely what you're doing in terms of social progress. So I'm particularly thankful for the compass that in part was forged here at Dartmouth. Because even when I'm stumbling around in the dark, I have that thought somewhere that this work is part of something bigger. And thanks so much.
I just want to add a few words in addition to what Steve said. First of all, he asked me to mention that the decor behind him, he's not responsible for. He's in a hotel, and that's the best he could do. I just want to mention a couple of things. I'm here because I'm the board chair of the Civilians. I'm the board chair of the Civilians because Steve and I were part of a community over on School Street 20-odd years ago that prized creativity and inclusion. And inclusion is an important word because, as Steve said, in the 80s, Dartmouth was not a very inclusive place. And I'll give an interesting example that resonates for me. There was a time when shanties were built on the green back in the 80s to support the struggles that were going on in South Africa and to encourage the college to divest its holdings in South Africa. And friends of mine were living there, and it was attacked on the eve of Martin Luther King's birthday. And this may seem kind of hard to imagine now, but we're here honoring Martin Luther King, and it must seem, like I say, unimaginable. But an experience like that really heightened my awareness of societal challenges. I'd never experienced anything quite like that before, and as Steve mentioned, there were many such incidents covering a range of social issues at that time here at Dartmouth. The Civilians was founded by Steve, as he mentioned, 11 years ago, and uses a unique investigative process to explore what I'll call cultural phenomena. Works that the Civilians have created have explored topics like evangelical Christians in Colorado, the Occupy movement, pornography, and the Paris Commune, just to give some diverse examples. This work brings to life stories of individuals who form the fabric of these communities. And the result is a theater that is intimate and delivers stories with respect and empathy. And when I think about those words, respect and empathy, I would say that those are the first steps in advancing social justice. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let me take these questions one by one. What have you most wanted to change through your life's work? And first of all, my life's work's not over yet, and so I'm still in the process of trying to change things. But it's becoming clearer to me as I get older what it is that I want to change. And what's become clear to me is that what I want to do is bring the heart and the soul into education. And it wasn't always there for me. You know, it wasn't always there. We are sort of taught that the heart is dark, or it's soft, or it's mushy, or it's biased, or it's whatever. And the soul, our souls actually are very fickle and very finicky, and they run away when there's ever any judgment or things like that. And so education systems aren't really designed very well to bring the heart and the soul into what we do. Actually, they're designed sometimes to close the heart and to make the soul run away and not bring our place of meaning. I've had a lot of thinking about this. Jim Friedman, in the bio, it says, Jim Friedman called me the soul of Dartmouth Medical School. And for a while I used to get embarrassed about that. But then I began to really like it because I thought maybe Dartmouth Medical School has a soul, number one. And that's pretty good. And maybe I can live that out. Maybe I can create some places where the students, we can invite the students' souls in there with their place of meaning. And I've done a lot of reading of a guy named Parker Palmer, and he has this theory of being divided no more, where your inner life and your actions resonate. And it's a very rewarding state. It's a very meaningful state in which your values and actions resonate. And anyhow, that's my life's work, is to try and have doctors who are doctors not only of the head and the hand, which we're pretty good at, but of the heart and the soul too. And I always tell the students on the first day of medical school, what's the secret of life? And the secret of life is the hokey pokey. It's put your whole self in, put your whole self, and your whole self contains your head and your hand and your heart and your soul. The second question is, did your passion for social justice have roots in your Dartmouth experience? And the answer is most definitely yes. I think that I had in me these roots. They were buried inside me, maybe not wearing my heart as much on my sleeve, not letting people see the whites of my eyes. But Dartmouth allowed me to do a little bit more of that. I remember vividly one time when I gave a speech at a palliative care conference in Montreal to the biggest audience I've ever spoke to. And in the middle of the speech, I looked down, and right in front of me was Dame Cicely Saunders, the woman that invented invented hospice. And as I walked off the podium, she said to me, "Young man, you did a very nice job." And I felt like I was in the mafia and got made. And that night I sat beside her at supper, and I asked her what was it about palliative care that drew her to it. And she said, "This work brings me people." And that's what I feel about Dartmouth. And one of the people that was incredibly meaningful to me is a man named Bob Coles, who came up here the first year I was in the dean's office to do the convocation speech. He was a very good friend of Jim Friedman's, and Jim came in to do the convocation speech. And I remember one of the messages he gave was from his friend Walker Percy, which is, "You can get all A's and flunk life." And that was a warning he was given to the students there. But Coles taught me a lot about, we became close friends. He became my mentor. He came up here and co-taught in a bunch of courses. I went down there and taught with him. We wrote a book together. But he taught me a lot of things, like about moral education, moral growth and development, about his two great books, my mantras, were The Call of Service and The Call of Stories, and doing as a part of learning, using service and then reflection about it as a way of moral growth. And in the spirit of telling stories, I want to tell two Coles stories that I think see it in my memory. When Coles, after he was a doctor and after he finished his training, there was something called a doctor draft, and he went down to Biloxi, Mississippi. And he used to go into New Orleans a lot. And one day when he was going into New Orleans, he noticed there was a big crowd, a lot of people yelling. And he wandered over to the edge of it, looked over the top of people, and there were 4 federal marshals bringing their 6-year-old African-American girl with pigtails into the Fran school. She was the only one going to the school. Her name was Ruby Bridges. And after a long involved story that involved Martin Luther King and Ralph Abernathy and their lawyer, Thurgood Marshall, and a whole bunch of people, very complicated, Coles got to interview these students that were going in, Ruby being one of the very important ones. But he told me this story once about Ruby. He was standing on the steps of the school as the marshals were escorting her down this phalanx of people yelling at her. And all of a sudden he noticed that in the middle of the pathway up there, she stopped, and he could see her lips moving. He thought she was talking to the crowd. And then they started moving again. And later that day he said, "Ruby, I saw you talking to the crowd today. What were you saying?" And he said, "Oh, I wasn't talking to the crowd." And he said, "What?" He says, "I was talking to God." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, you know, when I used to get out of the car, I'd stop the marshals and we'd say a prayer, but I forgot it today, so halfway up the thing I said, 'Let's stop, I want to say my prayer.' And so she was saying your prayer." He says, "Well, what do you say in your prayer?" He says, "Oh, I say the same thing every day." He said, "Well, what do you say?" And he said, "God, will you please forgive these people because they don't know what they're saying?" And he said, "You say that to them?" And Ruby, with a little bit of pity, a little bit of puzzlement, said, "Don't you hear what they say? Don't you hear what they say to me?" Ruby, is an example of the moral life that Coles was trying to teach. And the second part of the moral life, I thought, is the second Coles story, was after he got out of New Orleans, he went back to teach with Eric Erickson at Harvard. And at the end of Erickson's course, he used to say to have the students ask any questions they wanted to. And one time, as the course was ending, in the middle of the room, there was a very petite young woman who stood up and in her very soft voice said, "Can you tell me what the purpose of a Harvard education is?" Erickson said, "Well, that's an important question. That's a very important question, well worth a lot of thought." And he said, "I hope this is a place where we can all grow ethically, where we can become kinder and more thoughtful towards others. All the knowledge in the world is but a prelude to the moral challenges of everyday life." So Ruby and the moral life, grow ethically, learn to be kinder to each other. Those are the types of things that one wants to produce in a school where you bring your heart and your soul into it. So over. Okay, I'll stop. Thank you.
Carol, we open the mic to you.
Thank you. In the answer to the first question, what I have tried to change is the inequity of access to options and opportunities that exist between young people who take these things for granted and those who don't even know they exist. The answer to the second question is, since I did not attend Dartmouth, I can't answer this one. I was born too soon and the wrong sex. But I'm here now and have greatly appreciated and thoroughly enjoyed having the opportunity to indulge my passion and become involved in the life of the college through SEED. One thing that I remind all young people who are interested in getting involved in an initiative like SEED is that we are developing potential in others. We are not trying to make them over in our own image. I think that's very carefully taught to anybody who is mentoring a younger person. And the answer to the last question, which is not where I want to end this, is how do I sustain the passion? I don't have to. The kids do it for me. I want to tell you something about SEED. SEED was founded in 2001, as you've heard, to expand educational opportunities, explore options, and increase the size of the comfort zones. SEED was founded for promising high school students from selected under-resourced schools. We encourage personal growth and academic preparedness through specially designed courses, year-round mentors in their schools, and also from the Dartmouth community up here. The first year of the students' involvement, which is their ninth grade, so the summer following their ninth grade year, we give every student a laptop so that we can encourage them to use it for other things, but also to be in touch with us. SEED also offers the Dartmouth community a unique opportunity for service learning. And although that wasn't necessarily one of the original thrusts of SEED, it has become a highlight of the program. Just as important as what we can provide for the high school kids, we are providing for the college kids, or they are providing for themselves. Now, I have a few statistics here. If you don't like statistics, you don't want to listen to these, but I think that they're great. With the new students coming in this summer, we have worked with over 212 kids. And we only take 30 in a cohort. So that's small cohorts, get a lot of personal attention, and we've involved 212 of them. The Dartmouth sophomores who have been involved number 3,000. That's a lot. The mentors and academic coaches spend 745 hours a year with our SEED students, or involved with them. There have been 187 staff positions filled by 125 different people. There have been 75 SEED interns, and those are Dartmouth students who spend a term in the high schools where these kids come from, working with them on SAT prep and anything else they happen to need during their school year. The SEED alumni, those are young people who have graduated from our program and are off in college now. We've had 10 of them come back to assist the program. And we're very conscious of sustainability. And in that light, we have, in the last maybe 5 years, given each student and each staff member a plastic plate and a spoon and a fork and a knife, which they keep in a plastic bag. We have saved, in the first 10 years of our program, 4,500 paper plates. If anybody has questions, I have more answers.
I thank all of you. Now I will turn you over to this audience of very kind people who will chat with you. And questions, there are microphones. Our colleagues will hand you a microphone so that all of you can hear. Just raise your hand and the question. You impress them so much they're intimidated.
I don't think I need your microphone. I can speak loud enough. I really don't have a question for Joseph, but I have a bit of a comment. I can now have a bit of an insight as to how he's tolerated our friendship and me personally for the last 30 years. He clearly looks over all my faults and picks me up anytime I need that pickup, like he does everybody else that's in this room and everybody else that he's ever met. I also know that every time he meets anybody, whether it's here at Dartmouth or in the world, he puts his arm around them and first of all tells them how amazing they are, and then secondly, how wonderful they are and how joyful they are. I can also say that he wants everybody in the world to be a winner, with one exception. Even in sports, when you're with Joe or playing sports with Joe, he always wants everybody to be a winner. That is, until the last point. But Joseph, congratulations. It's my honor to be your friend, and thank you for all these 30 years. Thank you.
I'm sure we have time for one question. Not to put any pressure on you.
I have a question. Evelyn was talking about putting one foot in front of the other, and it sounds like you've all been faced with challenges and things that were probably caused you to have those moments of feeling humble, having the strength to go on, and I was just wondering if you could give an example of how you got through it.
Why don't you go?
The same way, one foot in front of the other. It's the only way to keep going. You can't let things, and there have been moments in the program where we've wondered, what do we do next and how do we handle this? And we just keep going, and it's worked. Good advice.
One of the ways I think is you learn to lean on other people, you know, and I mentioned my wife, you know, and so I lean on people like my wife and my colleagues and my friends, and you know, they're there to be with you and to support you and help you along.
I should say, you know, I work day to day in a corporate world, and it is full of challenges every single day. It's very competitive. There are setbacks all the time, and I would say, in addition to what I guess I would call perseverance, which is the one foot in front of the other thing, which is obviously critical, I think being creative and thinking out of the box and thinking about ways to kind of reinvent and rethink what you're doing all the time, that tends to be a real critical skill that I find when I'm facing a lot of adversity.
In the military, we call it Murphy's Law, but basically it's things can always go worse. And so we just, you know, we try and keep that in mind, and no matter, you know, how bad it gets for us, that there's always someone that's struggling more, or it's always harder for someone else, and how to take something positive from that situation, and, you know, not just move on with it, but also remember that so you can go back and help someone else when they come into a similar situation.
Since you, I'm assuming my colleagues are all done, unless I'm wrong, since you have given us such a gift of giving us yourself, I will take the opportunity to give you a gift back, and I'll pass on some more wisdom from one of those ladies, and this is still my great-grandmother, Aline. And one of the things that she told me is that we never earn the right to give up on the power of humanity and the kindness of other people and those things that we can do working with other people. So our gift to you will be, we will never give up. We will keep working like you continue to keep working, because we know that we can always make this a better place. And as I told someone earlier today, it's definitely, Dartmouth is worth it. So thank you. You can go to your seats, and then Lisa's going to come back and give us our marching orders.
Thank you. I would like to thank the honorees, President Folt, Vice President Ellis, Dean Johnson, and the Rockapellas for being with us tonight. I would also like to thank all of you for coming and attending and helping to recognize and celebrate our honorees. I would like to encourage guests to join us at the reception at the other outside of the room right here. And thank you for coming. I would also like to ask the honorees to come back up for one last picture with President Folt and Dean Johnson. So thank you all, and we hope to see you at the reception. Have a good night.